So, hello, everybody, and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. You back here, BSN Network. This is BSN Network Podcast here today. It is Monday, January 3rd. Hopefully, everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day. Yesterday. It is, in fact, Monday, January 3rd here today, coming off of a big weekend in sports, coming off of a tough loss yesterday for the New York Jets, but a big weekend overall in sports. You had all the college football on. You had it on the New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day. You had a ton of bowl games on, the two college football playoff games. You had the bowl games. Then you had all the New Year's bowls, like the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and all those games. Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl. All those games, Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, all those great games were on over the weekend. You get to Sunday, you have the NFL, you have the Jets, you have the Giants. Both teams lose. I know I did a post-game show yesterday about, what went on with the New York Jets and their game with the just a speechless play call on 4th down and 2 with the quarterback sneak and just kind of lost for words in a way. Like, you just don't really know what to say. I mean, it's just one of those things where you witness it happen and you're just like, what the heck just happened? And the Jets ended up losing and you're still kind of figuring it out. Robert Saleh probably should speak to the media a little bit here. Maybe we'll hear more clarification on exactly what happened, exactly the miscommunication between him and the coaches. Was it a decision by Wilson or was it Mike LaFleur? Who was it? What happened? What really happened? And all that stuff. So, Jets lost. I talked about it yesterday. I know I did a post-game show. If you didn't see that because you weren't expecting it or you never looked because you're not expecting a podcast on a weekend, I did make a little bit of a video. It was, I think, like a 16-minute video just strictly on the Jets-Buccaneers game. 16 or 17-minute video. It was a quick one. It wasn't like an hour-long video like I usually do. It was a quick video just recapping the game because it was like the game ended 4 Eastern-ish, and it was still like 3 hours, and I just couldn't get over it. I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to get it out of my system, just talk about it, and just talk about it. That's really what I needed to do, and that's what I was able to do on this. So it was a little bit of like a therapy session for me, which was good. As a Jet fan, which I've needed a lot of those over the years. I actually liked it. So I think that I might continue to do post-game shows. I might, depending on what happens with the Jets-Bills game, this weekend, depending on, if I'm up to it, I might do a post-game show too. I actually enjoyed it. It was just like a quick 15-minute video on the game, and I do the regular podcast throughout the week. I enjoyed it, but we'll see how everything goes. It's towards the end of the season, so if I do a post-game show, it will be for the Bills game, and then obviously next year I'll do a full year of them because it's gotten to the point where it's almost like it's too late because I've already gotten to the point where we're final week of the season. So either way, lot to get to today in the podcast. We'll get to the NFL recap. We'll recap the games, talk about the playoffs, get you ready for the upcoming week. Got a good game on tonight too. Got the Browns-Steelers on tonight. More than likely, the way things are looking, like it's a high chance that this is Big Ben's final game at Heinz Field and with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and more than likely next week will be his final game with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and probably his final game in the NFL as a quarterback. So we'll get to that. We'll get to the rest of the NFL. We'll talk about the Jets. We'll get to the Giants and their disaster, and Joe Judge in his press conference, how talking all that garbage. I mean, and I'm not even a Giants fan, and I was frustrated listening to that. I was extremely frustrated listening to Joe Judge talk to the media and try to it's almost like he's trying to tell everybody that he's done a great job, and he hasn't. This team's been terrible. What is he? 10-22 in 2 years, and at the rate we're going, it looks like they'll probably finish 4-13. So it'll be 10-23 in 2 seasons, no playoffs, and if they do decide to bring him back, I think that's got to be one of the dumbest decisions I've seen in a long time. So we'll get to that. We'll get to fantasy football. You know the drill. Recap it. Not looking good in one league. My other league, it's not looking great, but I still have a chance. My opponent's got Najee Harris. I've got Nick Chubb. My opponent's winning by a little bit, so I need Chubb to outscore Harris a lot tonight, which I'm hopeful, for the constellation. Like I said, fantasy football is just not the same when you're not in the championship. It really isn't. But I still enjoy it, and I still like to, I always set my lineup and all that stuff, so I'll get you ready. If you are in the championship, get you ready for any final decisions you got tonight. And then we'll get to the New York sports update. Nets back in action tonight against the Grizzlies, looking to get back on track after this little 2-game skid. Knicks with a day off. Rangers also playing tonight. It's the second half of a back-to-back. They got the win yesterday against the Lightning 4-0, so they'll look to get another win today. And the Nets are also, like I said, on tonight. So Rangers against the Oilers, Nets against the Grizzlies, Rangers at home at the Garden. Nets wrap up a 3-game homestand tonight. And if everything goes well, it looks like Kyrie Irving will be playing in Wednesday night's game against the Pistons. The Pistons. The Pacers. My bad. Messed that up. So Pacers, Wednesday night is looking like the debut of Kyrie this season. So we'll see how everything goes. But if everything goes well, we'll have tonight's game without Kyrie. And then Wednesday night's game, the next time the Nets take the floor in Indiana, it will be Kyrie Irving return night. That will be a very, very, very fun one for us as Nets fans, and I think a lot of the NBA will be interested to see how that one goes. So we'll see. We got to take a game. Got Memphis tonight, a good Grizzlies team looking to snap a 2-game skid, and that's what's on tap for the rest of New York sports. All right, so with all that being said, a lot to get to today on the podcast, so it's been a short intro, so a lot to get to. This is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. Alrighty, so coming off another wild, wacky week, week 17. You could say this a lot, but this was one of the weird weeks this season. Out of all the weeks this season, this was one of the odder ones. Just in terms of what happened, the scores, just some of the things that happened. I mean, just a really crazy week. It's just, I don't know. I think it's just really odd what's going on. You had Antonio Brown take off his shoulder pads, throw his shirt into the stands or whatever, and then took off his gloves, ran off the field shirtless, gave the peace sign, and did not travel back with the Bucs. We don't know where he is right now. Some say he's in New York with one of his friends. Some say, who knows? Who knows where he is? All I know is he's not at the Bucs training facility, and he's not going to practice with the team. He got released. So that was weird. The fact that the Jets were in the game against the Buccaneers was beyond crazy, like I talked about it yesterday. But before we get to the Jets and the Giants, I just want to update you on my game picks. This week I went 12-3 so far, so we still have tonight to go. Which should be interesting. Tonight was a really tough pick for me. I would be lying if I told you I'm completely settled on it. I wouldn't be surprised if I changed my mind a couple times throughout the podcast here. But I will tell you this: I did good this week. I'm 12-3 right now. So if I get the pick correct tonight, I'll be 13-3. That will be my first 13 win week of the season. I have not had any of them. The most picks I've gotten correct in a week this year has been 12, so I look to get 13 tonight with my pick between the Steelers and the Browns, and my overall is 162-92. So I said my goal is to get to 170 by the season's end. As of right now, I will either need 8 or 7 wins next week, which is more than possible to get to that 170 mark. So things are looking up going into the postseason for my game picks. All right, so now let's get to the Jets and the Giants. I'm going to start off with this, right? I talked about the Jets yesterday. I talked about them. Obviously, I did the post-game show. Like I mentioned, if you did not watch it or you weren't expecting a video and you never checked, or whatever it might be, I do recommend, if you like to, you can watch it. Like I said, I don't push for people to watch my videos. I don't push for people to like my videos. I don't push for people to leave comments. I like when people leave comments. If you leave a comment, you leave a comment. If you don't, you don't. I don't like when people push to say, oh, like and subscribe. I don't like to do that. So if you watched the video, you watched it. If you didn't, you didn't. If you want to, you can. It's out there. It's up there. I put it up on the channel. Whatever you want to do. I did make a Jets post-game video. It was a couple hours after the game, so I was still kind of like, I might not have sounded completely clear because I just wanted to get so much out there in such a little amount of time because I didn't want to make it a 40-minute video. I wanted to talk for about 15-20 minutes, nor was I in the mood to make a 40-minute video on a Sunday night. So I was, making that video and stuff, and it was after the game and stuff like that. And I want to tell you this first, before I really get into the game and stuff, and like I said, since I talked a lot about it yesterday, I'll get to it a little bit today. I also want to get to the Giants. Since I spent time yesterday talking about the Jets, I want to spend a lot of time on the Giants because they're just disgraceful. They're awful. They're terrible. They're an embarrassment to New York sports right now. We'll get to them. But I want to start off with this, right? I get the New York media is rough on players. I completely understand that, right? I'm at times hard on players, right? I'll tell it how it is. You know me with the Jets. I'll go on my Jet rants. I'll talk about it. I did it yesterday, right? I still don't know why the New York Jets QB sneaked down 4th down and 2. I'm having a tough time getting over it. It is what it is. We fall to 4-12. Now it's on to Buffalo, and you look to close out the season with a win, right? So whatever you want to say, you say. I was frustrated about yesterday's game. I understand that. But the fact that the media is attacking Zach Wilson on a personal level is completely outrageous and out of line. And I don't care, what type of fan you are, right? You could be whatever, like I said, I'm never going to tell people how to be fans. I never am. Whether you like it, whether you watch every game or you don't watch every game. Whether you go to every game or you don't go to every game. Whether you, watch and enjoy or you really watch and get into it. Whether you could miss games or not miss games. Whatever type of fan you are. Whether you're a fan that is like me, where it might take you a couple days to get over a loss, or you're a fan that once the game's over, you forget about it, you move on from it, you're back to regular, everyday life. Whatever you are, right? However you're a fan, I'm not going to tell you how to be a fan. I'm not going to tell the media how to do anything, right? Everyone's unique. But yesterday was, I think, the boiling point for me as a Jet fan, and I think for many other Jet fans, at what the New York media is doing to Zach Wilson, and what the New York media is saying about Zach Wilson. And it really, truly came up yesterday in the SNY postgame show with Leisure, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try, Duzabale or whatever, Bart Scott, and all those guys like that. First off, you can run your little post-game show all you want. Nobody even watches it. All right? So, I'm going to tell you that first. No, it's such a late slot. It's after the game. At that point, Jets fans are watching the 4 o'clock games. At that point, you're just, enjoying the rest of your day. If you got the win, you got the win. You move on from it. Boom, you're watching the 4 o'clock games and all that stuff. Nobody cares about the SNY Jets post-game show. But what came up yesterday is completely embarrassing. It's completely ridiculous. Them calling Zach Wilson arrogant, calling him a jerk, saying how, he's all about himself and all about the team. Where in the world is this coming from? Where in the world is these guys getting this from? Saying, oh, this is Zach Wilson's fault. Zach Wilson shouldn't have quarterback sneaked it. Whatever it is. Bart Scott saying all this bad stuff about Wilson and taking personal shots. The Jets late night show, taking personal shots. Where is this coming from? Why are we attacking Wilson like this? It is so unnecessary and ridiculous. I mean, they never did this with Darnold. Wilson has shown progress. He's young. He's been playing much better. And you're going to go out there and attack him on a personal level. Take shots at him. Call him chicken legs. Say he's not strong enough. He's not big enough. First of all, that doesn't work in sports. Because there's been many times where the media, fans had called a guy small and not strong enough and not tall enough to play a sport. And guess what? They were great. I always go back to Yogi Berra. Everyone coming out of high school, coming out of college, they were saying, oh, he's too small. He's not good enough. Yogi Berra, his career speaks for itself. Same thing here with Wilson. Calling him small enough, not big enough, saying he's not strong enough. Are you kidding me? Ridiculous what the media is saying. And Bart Scott especially, out of all people, like, he should be talking. Sure, he had a solid career, he was in the NFL, but it wasn't a great career by any means. He wasn't a quarterback. And in his post-NFL life, he's failed on the media. He got a job at WFAN, which is the prime radio station for New York. Didn't do anything there. And now you're sitting here and he's criticizing Wilson left and right. He has no room to talk. It is completely ridiculous. And not even just Bart Scott. I don't mean to fully just blow the blame on Bart Scott, but even just the other guys saying, oh, this is Wilson's fault. How is that game Wilson's fault? Give me 5 reasons. Give me 5 reasons why that game is Wilson's fault. And also, while you're at it, look at Wilson's stats. And how is that bad? How did he play bad? How is that Wilson's fault? We going to talk about the defense letting Brady tear them up? Are we going to talk about the defense letting up a 3rd down and 20 conversion? Are we going to talk about some of the receivers drops they made? Are we going to talk about the miscommunication as at the moment it was a miscommunication between Mike LaFleur and the coaching staff? Are you going to talk about any of that? Or are you just going to sit there week in and week out and just tear the kid apart? Now you wonder. You wonder why New York sports has stunk for so long. You wonder why players sometimes avoid coming here. It's because of people like that, announcers like that, media like that loves to just rip players apart and bring them down. And that is what the SNY Jets postgame did yesterday, and it needs to stop because it's getting ridiculous. I don't care. You could be an old school fan and you could love all that. Great. Love all that. Good. Love all that. But when players don't want to come play here because all they're doing is getting torn apart, don't cry. Okay? So, completely ridiculous. It really gets me angry when I hear these ridiculous and personal attacks. Why are you attacking him on a personal level? It makes no sense. It makes 0 sense. They never did it with Darnold, and they're now doing it with Wilson, calling him not big, not strong enough. Guess what? That doesn't work. Because the amount of times we've seen athletes get called too small, get called not big enough, not strong enough, and succeed is beyond. They called Steph Curry. Nobody thought Steph Curry was good enough. Well, Steph Curry just broke the 3-point record. Nobody said, Yogi Berra was good enough. Well, guess what? Yogi Berra is one of the winningest athletes of all time. So, don't even start with he's not strong enough, not big enough. Because we've seen that too many times. And too many times we've seen people say, they're criticizing his size. And if you want to criticize his size, go ahead, criticize his size. But then to even go on a personal level and say he's arrogant, what makes you think that? He's a team captain, for crying out loud. Why don't you look at some of the facts before opening your mouth and just completely speaking utter, just dumb takes? It's dumb takes. It really is. And it's upsetting where we've gotten. For a kid that's played so much better recently and continues to show progress, and nobody gives him credit. It really is where we've gotten with the New York media and the media overall. So, that's why I wanted to clear that, because that's been frustrating me. When you hear all these takes and all this ridiculous stuff, and I just want to make this clear. It's not just Bart Scott, but, he's been a big leader of it. He's been very critical of Wilson since they've drafted him. You could tell he wasn't a Wilson fan. Okay, fine. You might not be a fan of player. No need to take attacks at him. I've always said that, right? I'm not a fan of Brady, but I'll tell you what, he's the best quarterback of all time. Yesterday's a pure example of it. Gets the ball under 2 minutes to go. What does he have? 1 timeout or whatever? No, I don't even think he had any timeouts. That's Tom Brady, the best quarterback of all time. Do I not like him? I don't. I can't stand him. He beat us again. He always finds ways to beat us, and that annoys me. But he's the greatest? Yes, he is. And, Wilson. You might not like him. Sure, fine. Maybe you don't like his play, but you can't ignore the fact he's been much better. And that's where the annoying part comes in. Is why don't you give credit to the guy? Give credit to him. Give credit where credit's due. We were all destroying him early in the season because he looked uncomfortable out there. Since coming off of injury, he's been way more comfortable when he's played so much better. Why don't you give him some credit instead of every week, win or lose, whether he throws 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions, destroying him? Why don't we give him some credit for once? And to that point, Wilson yesterday went 19 of 33 for 234 yards, a touchdown, no picks. He only had 1 sack, which you got to give props to the offensive line for an offensive line that missing a lot of key pieces, an offense as a whole missing a lot of key pieces, to put up as many points as they did and to have, to protect Wilson like they did against one of the premium defenses in the league was a great job of the Jets O-line. Now he had a rating of 89.7, which is really solid, and I'm sure he will be in the voting for NFL Rookie of the Week, AFC Rookie of the Week again. So we'll see how everything plays out with that. Like I said, I still don't understand the 4th down and 2 play with the quarterback sneak. I talked about it yesterday. I could go on and on about it. Like I said, Saleh should speak here in a little bit. He usually has his regular Monday press conference, so definitely keep a close eye on that. Maybe he'll come out and say more. After the game. It really is the truth. After the game, he gets off the field and goes right into the media room. I don't even think he might not even have time to go to the bathroom. He probably gets off the field and goes right to the media room because let's say the game ends at 4 o'clock. Usually the press conferences are set up for about 4:15, so he might go to the bathroom and go do his media. So he probably had no time to talk to LaFleur. Maybe after sleeping on it, talking to LaFleur, talking to Wilson, talking to the offense as a whole, figuring out what it was, maybe we'll come up with a better answer. But as of right now, we know it's a coaching miscommunication. They didn't relay the play good enough, which is on the coaches. There's no other way to put it. So it's a mistake with the coaches, but we'll see if Saleh has anything else to say. Carter, in the couple snaps that he played well. 3 carries, 54 yards. He obviously had the big 55-yard run to start the game and then got the concussion, and Alson Walter and Ty Johnson really picked up the slack. Ty Johnson obviously had a rushing touchdown along with Berrios, and Berrios also caught the touchdown from Wilson. He had 8 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. So that is kind of what the Jets looked like on offense, and Brady got picked off by Brandon Echols. He also got sacked, so still threw for 410 yards, just wasn't good enough on the defensive end. Especially the final drive there. So, Jets fall to 4-12. Buccaneers fall to 12-4. Like I said, I'm gonna probably say this 5 times already today, but I talked about it yesterday. So if you want to get more of it, you can. At this point, I'm just gonna sound like a broken record with the 4th down and 2 play. I don't understand it. I don't get the play call, but it's a frustrating way to lose. I've been playing the what if game. I've still rehashed a play. I've actually watched a play a couple times over again just to try to figure out, what maybe the Jets, not even just what the Jets were doing, but just legitimately, just overall looking at the play and where the thought process might have been. And I haven't come up with an answer. It just looks like a miscommunication or just something where the players were all not on the same page. So either way, Jets fall 28-24 to the Bucs. But hey, they played well. They competed. I just wish they were able to get the win, especially against Brady. He's been our arch enemy for so many years now, and it would have been nice to beat him. But, came close, but wasn't good enough. Either way, though, now let's get to the New York Giants. And let's get to the embarrassing New York Giants. So the Chicago Bears yesterday won 29-3. So Bears move to 6-10. Giants fall to 4-12. And, I mean, when does it get to a point where you as a Giant fan, and even when does it, not even just Giant fan, I don't even know where I'm going with this. Bear with me if I go in 5 million directions with this, because this is something that's been, it's just so bad. It really is. And I'm not a Giant fan. I'm not. But this is, just so bad. And when an organization is run that poorly, it frustrates me as a football fan, because it's what are you doing? What are the Giants doing? That's the question we're asking here today, January 3rd, Monday. By the way, Happy New Year to everybody out there. That's the question we're asking today. What in the world are the New York Giants doing? What is John Mara doing? What is this front office doing? Keeping Joe Judge and saying, oh, he's the guy here. After yesterday's performance and after what he said in the press conference, I think the Giants should have fired Joe Judge right then and there and left him in Chicago like the Bucs did to Antonio Brown. Except obviously back in, Jersey at MetLife Stadium. That's yesterday what Joe Judge went on there and said was completely ridiculous. And you know, we'll get to the game. But, you know, that's the part of me that really frustrates me, right? And I've always said this, you know, what I like in coaches is coaches that hold players accountable. I like coaches who go out and hold players accountable. You know, I like, you know, that's Tomlin, for example. He's had a great career. He holds players accountable. He does. If you look at Belichick, he holds players accountable. When somebody doesn't do well, he'll stand up there in front of the media and tell you he doesn't do well. He'll tell it like it is. If a player doesn't play well, he'll say he didn't play well today. He won't sugarcoat it. He won't say, oh, well, I thought I saw some good things. It's just all about finding consistency. No, he won't say any of that. He'll stand up there and tell it like it is. And guess what? Bill Belichick's one of the greatest coaches in all of sports. Guess what? Mike Tomlin is one of the better coaches in the NFL right now, one of the better coaches in the NFL, you know, of all time in terms of winning percentage and overall handling a locker room. Right? So all of that craziness is really, you know, all of that, and to my craziest at this point, Mike Tomlin was able to somehow contain Antonio Brown. Whether he got crazy after that Vontaze Burfict hit or whatever, either way, he had all those guys on that roster, and he was able to contain all those egos. Since they've left, their egos have blown up, and they haven't been the same players like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, right? So, you know, when coaches stand up there and say all that stuff, I like that. And Joe Judge is the complete opposite of that. And what Joe Judge yesterday said in his post-game press conference is nothing short of ridiculous, just dumb, and really, he was on that press conference yesterday talking like that because he's trying to get back for a third season. He's trying to talk his way into John Mara and this Giants organization and front office talking himself into a third year as head coach of the Giants, saying things like players from former teams still call me and say wish they were a part of the Giants. So let me ask you this. If they wish they were a part of the Giants, then why did they go sign with another team? If it was a free agent, right? I don't know exactly who it was, if it was through trade or whatever. Let's just say they left in free agency. If they really wanted to be with the Giants so much, why didn't they resign with the Giants? They really wanted to play for you, Joe Judge, so much. Why didn't they resign with the Giants? You could say money, but if they love a coach that much, they might pass up the big money just to play for a coach that they really believe in. And if the players buy into you so much, if the players are really buying into what they're talking, then why are all these games blowouts? Is it lack of talent? Or is it bad coaching? Or is it both? You know, sometimes when you see games like this where they're blown out, it's because the players aren't always playing together. The locker room's usually combusted, and that's really what it is. Joe Judge has lost this locker room. He's lost the locker room. You could say, oh, players come into my room two times a week saying, hey, I want to be a part of the team. Great, good for them. Good. Be a part of a losing culture for another year. Re-sign them, bring them back, and let them be a part of another losing season. Because that's where the Giants are headed. And what Joe Judge said yesterday was pretty much, Joe Judge summed up, what he said yesterday summed up was, John Mara, give me another season. This is why you should give me another season. He should have just said that. He should have just said, I'm campaigning for my third season. Saying how good he is and how much control of the locker room and all that stuff. Are you kidding me? He lost that locker room so many weeks ago. And you saw for example, last year with the Jets and Adam Gase, they were getting blown out. You want to know why they were getting blown out? Because the players aren't playing together. You know, they in team meetings and stuff, it's just not the same. It's not the same energy. When there's a disconnect between the players and coaches, you can't function. And that causes blowouts, and that causes performances like this. Week after week, the Giants put this brand of football on television. And you look at, the Giants this year compared to like the Jets last year, blowout after blowout after blowout. Going on the road against a bad Chicago Bears team and getting blown out. The least you could have did is kept that game somewhat close. You couldn't even score a touchdown. You made the Bears offense look great. You make, the Bears look like this insane team. You made Andy Dalton look like a rejuvenated Andy Dalton. Maybe I'll take that back. He didn't play great. But still, he was efficient enough. He threw for 173 yards while Mike Glennon threw for 24. Something crazy that I noticed in this game, Michael Glennon threw 11 times. He threw 11 times. Andy Dalton threw 35. It just goes to show you how bad the Giants are in the passing game. And the fact that Mike Glennon can't do anything. He stinks. He stinks. And they keep throwing him out there. And I understand Jake Fromm struggled. But throw him out there. Who cares? The season's over. I don't know why they keep rolling out Jake Fromm. And that's Joe Judge right there. Or keep rolling out Mike Glennon, rather. That's Joe Judge. Giants with another embarrassing performance. Oh, my God. This is where it gets to the point where you start seeing former players come out publicly and express frustration. And rightfully so. Because when you see this product on the field every weekend, it seems to get worse. It really is like it's getting worse. You know, at least you could have said, oh, maybe it's getting, maybe this is, it really is getting worse. It really is. It's getting worse. Each week it seems to be getting worse, and each week the Giants just seem to be, just declining. And it really, and I don't know, there's no other way to put it. It really is. Look, 20-9, 37-21, 21-6, 34-10, 29-3. It's like blowout. The last time they were in a game was when they beat the Eagles 13-7. That was Week 12, November 28th. Sunday, November 28th was the last time they was the last time they won a football game. Was the last time they actually, put together 4 quarters of football. And even that game, they only scored 13 points. Eagles were a touchdown away from winning that game. So that's how bad it's gone for the Giants. And I think Joe Judge yesterday saying what he's saying should just be the ultimate icing on the cake that John Mara and this front office needs to move on, and they need to blow it all up. They need to blow it all up. They just need to. You can bring in Abrams, whatever you want to do. Do whatever you want to do, but you need to blow this whole coaching staff up and figure out the GM. And Gettleman, like I said, to bash Gettleman, you're pretty much beating a dead horse at that point. He's done. He's as good as gone. This will be his final game as GM. Like I said, I've said this a couple times. I know Giants fans have said this. People around the NFL say it. He's either going to retire or the Giants are going to fire him or he's going to resign. Either way, no matter what comes out publicly, he's going to get fired. Like, the Giants might say, hey, man, we're going to move on from you. And then he might say, oh, yeah, or he might say, okay, the time's up, let me retire. The Giants might work it out where, or it might look like, if he retires, or if he resigns, that's pretty much the nice way of saying, Giants pretty much just told me to get the heck out of here and I'm gone, right? So Gettleman's gone. He's gone. There's no other way to put it. But Joe Judge, who knows? And I just can't imagine Joe Judge coming back and you having an assistant GM step up now, same coaching staff, same roster, and just have another year of incompetent football. I mean, the Jets saw enough with Gaze after 2 years. 2 years was enough. This is not as bad as Gaze, right? Gaze won 9 games in 2 years. Joe Judge has already, beat that total. But really, though, this is almost an example of that. How in the world can you possibly bring the guy back? To give a coach 2 years all you want, great. When he gets worse in his second year, that should ring the alarms. Losing 10 games in his first year is concerning. To then have it happen where in the second year they get worse, that's bad. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things. You could say whatever you want about, just look at the big picture. You got worse from last year to this year. And the funny thing is you went out and made signings to make your team better, but you got worse. That's coaching. That's on Joe Judge. Giants need to get him out of there. You can't possibly tell me Joe Judge is coming back next season and it's going to be another year of incompetent football for the New York Giants. And Joe Judge could stand up there and say, oh, look, we're headed in the right direction. What signs have even shown you that? It looks like they're getting worse. They're going on an angle like this, not this. That's why at least the Jets, they've shown some positives recently. The Giants are just like this. Putting bad football on tape, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. And if the Giants lose next week against a struggling Washington team, they'll be way on their way to a 13-loss season and just another disgraceful season. And the fact that you could be possibly at all even thinking about bringing Joe Judge back is beyond ridiculous, because he's been terrible. And he's lost the locker room. Players have given up on him, because he's lost the locker room and the players have given up on him. I mean, he's just, it's bad. It's really bad. And yesterday is just the pure example of 2 years of terrible coaching. And they got one more week. And that will be at home against Washington. And, if you're the Giants, whether you're a fan that's rooting for a win, or a fan that's not rooting for a win, or a fan that wants draft position or whatever, or a fan that just wants a loss to make it look worse on Judge, your hope is if they lose that game against Washington next weekend, you could boo Judge out of the stadium, and you hope that he's fired on Black Monday, which is, day after final week of the season. And we'll see how things go. I just can't picture this, because you look at these other teams, right? Nagy's getting fired. You look at the Vikings. They probably will move on from their coach. You look at all these other teams and all these other, franchises moving on. And it's like those, Nagy was And, he had a good first season and was terrible. And his Bears are 6-10 and very well could finish with another, they're going to finish with another double-digit loss season. And they're going to move on from him. And that makes sense. But when you think of Joe Judge, it's just like, it's completely ridiculous, because he's won 10 games in 2 years and lost 23. And the possibility of even bringing back boggles my mind. Really is. So, you look at Glennon yesterday, 4 of 11, 24 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. 2 picks, just as bad as it gets. By the way, a -5 fantasy points. He had a 5.3 rating. He endured 4 sacks up against a Bears defense. It's nothing special. Not like they once were. The one positive, I guess, is Barkley did have a good game. 21 carries, 102 rushing yards, 4.9 was his average. Booker also added on 46 rushing yards. Glennon had 1 rush for 13 yards as well. So they did run the ball pretty well, but, I mean, God. 24 yards passing is just not going to win you football games. You look at the receiving, Evan Ingram 1 catch for 12 yards, and Sills had 1 catch for 12 yards. Devontae Booker had 2 catches, 3 targets. It all total ended up for 0 yards. So 24 passing yards for Mike Glennon and 2 interceptions while taking 4 sacks. And you look at the Bears, I mean, they put up 29 points, but you even look at their offense, and it wasn't anything spectacular. I mean, Dalton threw a touchdown and a pick, 173 yards, 9.6 average per throw. He did take 2 sacks. He had a rating of 63.2. So, I mean, it's Andy Dalton. What do you really expect? But it's one of those performances from a backup that he did just enough. He kept you competent, was better than the Giants, and that's really what they needed to do, was be better than the Giants. David Montgomery had 64 yards on 22 carries. He had 2 touchdowns. And Darnell Mooney had the lone receiving touchdowns for the Chicago Bears, 7 catches, 69 yards, and a receiving touchdown. So, Giants fall to 4-12. Bears improve to 6-10, and the Giants are 1 game away from losing 13 games this season, and could be very well heading out of their final home game next week, with Joe Judge getting booed out of the stadium. And if he gets booed, I think that should say a lot about the way the fans feel about him. I think Mara knows it already, but if they boo him, if they get smoked the final week of the season and he gets booed, I think that should say a lot about how the fans feel about him. He's lost the locker room. He's lost the locker room, and I'm going to leave it at that. Alrighty, so some of the other games, that went on over the weekend. There were definitely some big ones. Some blowouts. Patriots blowing out the Jaguars 50-10. You had the Seahawks. Looked like the Seahawks we all expected this season, but didn't get. They blew out the Lions 51-29. You had Packers blowing out the Vikings and backup quarterback Sean Mannion 37-10. Chargers beating down on the Broncos 34-13. Yeah, the Titans beating down on the Dolphins 34-3. So Dolphin season's not looking good. Like the Titan season they got a big win yesterday to improve to 11-5, finding ways to win without Derrick Henry. And he had some big wins. Eagles with a big win, 20-16. They clinch a playoff spot. I gotta tell you this. We were all wrong about this, and maybe you did. Good for you if you predicted it. There was not too many people in the NFL this season, going into this season, that had the Philadelphia Eagles clinching a wild card spot. Going into the final week of the season, knowing they'll be making the playoffs. It's crazy. It really is. And we still sit here. I'll still sit here and make fun of Nick Sirianni with some of the things he'll say. Playing rock, paper, scissors with draft products to test their competitive level. Talking about, pulling up on they were in film session, pulling up on the big screen, a flower, and talking about photosynthesis and how everything needs to work together in order to have photosynthesis happen. And that's how the team's got to do it, where they got to work together in order to get a win. The things that Nick Sirianni has done to the Eagles with some of the coaching techniques he has, it's unique. It's not normal. It's hysterical with some of the things he comes up with, but it's working. And the Eagles right now are riding high with 9-7. Got a big comeback road win. They went into halftime down 9, and they came out and scored 13 unanswered and got the win 20-16. Was it pretty? No. But did they do what they needed to do? Got a turnover on Heineke? Yes, they did. And that is all that matters. They were able to get pressure on Heineke, made him turn the ball over, throwing a pick, and the Eagles were able to come out on top and get the win. I mean, Hurts didn't throw a touchdown. He didn't. He didn't have any spectacular game by any means. But what he was able to, he did just enough. The defense stepped up, and they were able to come back in the second half. And by the way, I know probably many of you have seen it. Just like I said, yesterday was a very weird day in the NFL. I liked it. It was very entertaining. The Jets-Bucks game came down to the final 15 seconds, which I did not think would happen at all. You thought with the final 15 seconds left, the Bucks would be in victory formation, but that was not the case. Either way, it was a crazy day. You had Antonio Brown running across the end zone, pretty much quitting, playing NFL, leaving that game. Just quitting on the Bucks, then getting released. And then you had the fans, which is what I wanted to get to here with Philly, at Washington. And Washington, the Redskins football, that stadium, FedEx Field, is way outdated. I mean, it really is. 2 times this season, they had like a water main break or whatever from the suites, where water was pouring out of the suites and onto the fans underneath them. And then yesterday, you have Jalen Hurts walking off the field, and literally the railing, or like where the fans were leaning over, breaks, and the fans go flying over the railing, falling, and they were so close to landing right on Hurts' leg. And I'm not gonna say anything, like what if, but you could have ruined those Eagles fans could have ruined the Eagles season if they landed on Hurts and he got injured that way. That would have been bad. I mean, unless if they were able to find some Nick Foles magic to take them through the playoffs again, that would have probably been their season. Hurts just escaped that fall, all the fans falling off. It really was wild. It was just crazy. And that stadium just goes to show you how outdated it is. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a player run off the field with his shirt off before, and I've never seen that before. 2 things I've never seen in the NFL, also, which is some crazy good games. In an action-packed Week 17. Some of the other big games were, the Saints keeping their playoff hopes alive with the win against the Panthers. The more and more, you look at this Panthers team, the more and more you question Matt Rule's future. And the more and more you question Sam Darnold's future in the NFL. And the more and more, really, you just question where the Panthers are headed. They showed so much promise starting off 3-0, and since that, they've gone 2-11, and they're now sitting here at 5-11. And, I mean, the quarterbacks that they've went through, Sam Darnold and P.J. Walker and then, Cam Newton and all that. Just, they don't have the answer. They had last year, they had Teddy Bridgewater, and Panthers fans were complaining about Teddy Bridgewater last year. I think a lot of Panthers fans right now would gladly take Teddy Bridgewater back. Obviously, he's injured, but when he's healthy, you can make the argument he's better than all three of the quarterbacks that have, played with the Panthers this season. And, as a Jet fan, I was hoping to see Darnold succeed. I really was. I was hoping to see a win-win on both sides. I was hoping to see, Jets and Zach Wilson succeed, which, like I said, Wilson has shown a lot of progress. And I was hoping to see, Darnold do well in Carolina. It just didn't work out here. I was hoping to see him, explode there. And he did the first 3 games. He did. But everything just fell apart. Him getting injured and all that stuff. And even before he got injured, he just wasn't playing well enough. And that's the part of me as like a football fan, it stinks to see because like he had so much talent coming out of college. It's almost, it's like when we tell you the Jets ruined him, it's like the Jets ruined him. Like I think he picked up so many bad habits with the Jets. It's just some of those things that they might be able to be fixed, but it could take maybe 3-4 years. It could take like another revamp. It might just take like another NFL career for him. Meaning he's got to go in, you got to treat him like a rookie, in a way. He's going to have to be treated like a rookie and take it, game by game and show progress. Because he's developed so many bad habits with the Jets, it's like he's just not the same. Who knows? Maybe it's not that. Maybe he's just not good enough at the NFL level. That could be it too. But to me, for somebody that shows so many flashes, but so much inconsistency, it's like you got to find somewhere in between, and Darnold just hasn't found that. And that's... from a Jet fan perspective, it stinks to see because I was hoping to see him do well in Carolina. But, now you start raising the questions of what's going on with Matt Rule, and if you fire Matt Rule, then what are you doing with Darnold then? And that's the really tough part because if you fire Matt Rule, Darnold's in another position where he's getting another head coach. He already had 2 with the Jets and then add another 3rd, and he's only been in the league for 4 years. It's just like... He's been through so much garbage. He's got to find... I think Darnold's really got to find a stable situation with true, real good weapons, and maybe he would be able to really, blow up and explode. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Like a team like the Giants, for example, that could be in need next year of a quarterback. I just don't know how, Darnold coming back to play for the Giants would just be very weird. I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just giving an example of a team like a team like that might be able to use him. Or somebody like the Seahawks, if they do lose Russell Wilson and DK and them still stay put there, maybe you slot Darnold or whatever, and he has some true weapons. It's just, like I said, I don't know if it's really the Jets, or if it's just he's not good enough for at the NFL level, or if he truly needs a number 1 receiver. Because if you look at his career, he's never had a number 1 receiver. Sure, he's had Robbie Anderson, but he's not like your true number 1 consistency, rely on big moments against some of the best cornerbacks in the NFL type receiver. He's a guy he's another one that shows a lot of flashes, but not enough consistency. And I feel like sometimes that's the issue with Darnold. Shows sometimes when he looks good, it's because Robbie Anderson looks good, and Darnold needs a consistent receiver and a consistent, and even that, consistency even ranges to the coaching staff too. Like he needs a consistent head coach. Just put it, hire somebody that's competent, good enough to run a football team, knows the sport, and put Darnold under that, coaching staff and see what he can do. Because Darnold, every year it seems like he's getting changed on him. This is 3 systems and would be 4 years, and this is 3 systems already in 4 years. Change a team, and if they would to fire Rule, they'd bring in another system. That'd be like 4 systems in 4 years, plus a change of team. So much for a quarterback trying to find it. It's hard enough to find your footing in the NFL, let alone when you got all these moving parts around you. Seems like every other week things are changing for Darnold, and then the injuries, and he's never been able to play a full 16 games in any of his, 4 seasons. Just, it's tough. It's tough. But Saints got a much-needed win. Taysom Hill is back. You wonder if it's a little, too little too late for the Saints, but another team, too. Going to go into the off-season questions. Do you bring back Winston? Do you draft a quarterback? Do you make a trade for one? A lot of questions there. It's not over yet for the Saints. To be honest with you, a lot could happen. If the Niners lose, Saints win, they'll be in. Eagles have already clinched a playoff berth. So it comes down to the Niners and the Saints. No other way to put it. If the Saints win and the Niners lose, Saints are in, Niners are out. If the Niners win, no matter what happens, Saints could win, lose, or tie. Saints won't be in the playoffs. So this is the updated playoff picture in the AFC right now. It's the Titans, Chiefs, Bengals, Bills. Titans, Chiefs, Bengals have all clinched their respective divisions. Bills and Patriots are still playing for something. If the Bills lose to the Jets and the Patriots win against the Dolphins this upcoming week, Patriots will win the division. Bills will be the wild card. If the Bills win, they win the division no matter what happens with the Patriots game. If the Jets beat the Bills and the Patriots win, Patriots will be in. So Bills control their own destiny. Bills win, and they're the AFC East champions. Then, as of right now, it's the Patriots, Colts, Chargers. And that Chargers-Raiders game will wrap up the season. So the winner of that Chargers-Raiders game will be in. Now, Steelers, I believe, still technically have an outside chance. A lot needs to happen with them. They need all the chips to fall in place. Right now, I think Steelers fans, NFL fans should be preparing for tonight's Monday night game is going to probably be the last one at Heinz Field for Big Ben. And then for the NFC, the Packers have clinched. I believe they've clinched the NFC. So clinched division and home field advantage. So Packers have clinched it all. So Packers, Rams, Buccaneers, Cowboys. All three of the four teams have clinched their divisions. Packers, Bucks, Cowboys. Rams, however, have not. Rams have not clinched their division. Like I said, need some help. Cardinals need to win. Rams need to lose in order to be in. So that's that. And then for the NFC here as well, 49ers, Eagles. So Eagles right now, they clinched. The Eagles clinched the final. The Eagles clinched the wild card spot. So with the Vikings loss last night, Eagles clinch. And these are it. This is the scenarios. Niners need a win in order to get in. If the Niners win, they're in. If the Saints win and the Niners lose, Saints are in. So big win for the Saints. Cardinals defeated the Cowboys. You always talk about mistake-free football, not turning the ball over. Cowboys turned it over a ton. Just Cardinals took advantage of it. Kyler Murray had a big day, and I was shocked. I mean, I didn't think the Cardinals were the same team. I still could make the argument they're not the same team without, without DeAndre Hopkins. But they got to find ways to win, and they found a way yesterday to win. Niners and Trey Lance beat the Texans to keep their season alive, and like I said, if they beat the Rams this upcoming weekend, which is not going to be easy, they'll be in. So that's what's going to be fun. Is the Saints get the Falcons and the Rams and the Niners get the Rams. So Niners get a much harder opponent, Saints get the Falcons. So Niners going to have to come to play, and you wonder if Jimmy G's ready. And even if Jimmy G is ready, I would say, I know some 49ers fans might want to see Trey Lance. You throw Jimmy G out there because it's a big game. Your season's pretty much on the line. You need a win. You need to throw out your most experienced and veteran quarterback out there to play that game. Bengals with a big win against the Chiefs. I was telling somebody yesterday about this, and he actually has. Joe Burrow's got to be a MVP candidate. There's no more of this, oh, wow, great play. No. Joe Burrow has got to be up there with some of the best in the league. He's got to be an MVP candidate. I'm not saying he's going to win it. I don't think he probably will because that's just how it's run. It's probably going to be either Rodgers or Brady. But Burrow's got to be up there. And another big day yesterday from Joe Burrow. 446 yards, 4 touchdowns. The Bengals were able to come back. They went into halftime down 11. Came back and outscored the Chiefs by 14 in the second half. And were able to get the win by 3, 34-31. So that was a big win for the Bengals. And you look at the Bengals, and they were able to clinch the AFC North. And the Bengals now, watch out. This Bengals team's legit, and I can officially say they're legit after a win like that yesterday against a very good Chiefs team at home. So those were just some of the games. Bills defeated the Falcons. It was snowy up in Buffalo, but the Bills were able to get the job done. It was a very slow start for the Bills. They actually went into halftime down 1, but came out in the second half and outscored, shut the Falcons out, and were able to really shut the door and got the win 29-15. Raiders with the big win against the Colts will set up the Sunday night game next week against the Chargers. Win, you're in. Lose, you go home. So almost like an added wild card round to the schedule. And I love when that happens. Like sometimes it doesn't happen in the NFL or anything, even in baseball or football or basketball, whatever it is. Obviously you set up where final 5 games of the season possibly could be a scenario where you have 5 games and 3 of those 5 are on the road against teams that are battling for the playoff spot. And you always, as a fan, hope that happens, and it doesn't always happen. So when you get something where the Raiders are 9-7, they get a big win on the road against the Colts, and then you get a Chargers team come off of a big win at home against the Broncos, were able to take care of business, against a Broncos team that, when they were in Denver, took a tough loss. Justin Herbert did not play his best game. You go into the Raiders, win on the road against the Colts. Wentz makes some mistakes. They, take advantage of those mistakes that Carson Wentz makes. And, now you set up a Sunday night game next week, nationally televised, Raiders, Chargers, division game. You're at home, in Vegas. It's a huge opportunity for the Raiders, who were a couple weeks ago against the Browns, were really a loss away from really just being dug deep into the conversation and forgotten about. Dylan Carlson nails the game-winning field goal against the Browns, and they were able to get the win. And now it sets up the Sunday night game between the Chargers and the Raiders. And it's funny because back in Week 4, when the Chargers defeated the Raiders 28-14, everyone was talking about, the Chargers could win the AFC and all that. And that's now the way the both teams' seasons have gone. Now they're just playing for a playoff spot. And the Raiders have put themselves in this position, right? For a team that a couple weeks ago was 6-7, coming off a brutal 48-9 loss against the Chiefs. For a team that was, one loss from being 6-8 and just out of it. You win 3 straight, which started off on the weird Monday night game that got postponed due to COVID on Sunday against the Browns. They got the win there, Dylan Carlson game-winning field goal, and then you get the win against the Broncos, right? You're at home. That was kind of like that could have been it was almost like a trap game because he got a big win and he had a big opponent coming up against the Colts, but they took care of business against the Broncos. And the biggest win of them all, you go on the road against a soaring Colts team with Jonathan Taylor, T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, Carson Wentz, and Wentz makes mistakes. Raiders defense forces him into mistakes, take advantage of them. Derek Carr with some big plays, all around a good offensive showing, and they win it by 3. And now it sets up, a big game against the Chargers on Sunday night. And the Rams beating the Ravens was another big game. Ravens season at this point is pretty much as good as gone. I mean, it really is crazy what happened to the Raiders season. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the Raiders being in contention to win and not only just the AFC North. I mean, at the time they were the favorites. They were in the lead in the AFC North. And to have those, to have Lamar Jackson, it's not even Lamar Jackson, because even when he was out, when he was playing, you had the game against the Steelers on the road, and you go for the 2-point conversion, and he doesn't execute that throw on the 2-point conversion, you lose the game. You could say whatever you want about Mark Andrews, and he could have made that play. No, he couldn't have. He threw it over his head. Mark Andrews couldn't make that play. It was a bad throw. It's been the 2-point conversions. That's what it's been. It's been the 2-point conversions and not converting. And the Ravens this season have been, have gone for so many 2-point conversions, and it hasn't worked. And they put themselves in this position. And the Ravens sit at 8-8, and they blew the game yesterday. I mean, they were up 16-7 going into the final fourth quarter. You get the field goal in the third. You go up 16-7. It's a Rams team that early on, Stafford throws a pick. Ravens were able to take advantage of that, cash it in for 7. And then, you come out second quarter, Rams get they respond with the touchdown. Rams get the touchdown, Ravens respond. You go into halftime, Ravens are up 13-7. You come out, have the half, get 3 more points, 16-7, and you go into fourth quarter and it blows up. It blows up right in your face. Rams outscore you by 10. Rams score 13, you get 3, and the Rams win 2019. That can't happen. You could say whatever you want about Lamar Jackson. When your defense is letting up the big play late, when you're not getting stops on third down, when your offense is stalling late, that's just bad football. And for a team that just a couple weeks ago was really looking up and really looking like a true contender, now, unless if everything falls in place, more than likely, Ravens are just about finished. And they do get one more against the Steelers, next week, which could, at this point, if the Steelers lose tonight, probably be more of a meaningless game. But you look at the rest of the AFC standings, and you look at the rest of the standings. Ravens right now stand at 8-8. They need help. They need a lot of it. They need a lot of help. A lot of things need to go their way. A lot of chips need to fall in place if they want any shot at getting into the final playoff spot. I believe if the Colts lose and the Ravens win and the Dolphins lose and the Steelers have to lose today, so much has to happen. But you could say whatever you want about, they shouldn't have went for 2 and all that stuff. Look, right? I like coaches who are aggressive. They never executed it, and it is what it is. And we're now sitting here today talking about the Ravens losing again. And look, what if the Ravens don't blow? You could say whatever you want. You could play the what if game forever. I mean, what if they made those 2 2-point conversions? They'd probably be like 11-4 right now, or 12-4 right now, and maybe ways on their way to a or what if they got one of them, right? There's so many what ifs. What if they don't blow the game yesterday? So many what ifs, but you got to hope you get Lamar Jackson. Maybe you get Lamar Jackson back for your final game of the season, and maybe you get him back for your final game of the season, and you get a win, and you hope that craziness happens and you get in. But Tyler Huntley yesterday obviously didn't play great. He also got sacked 5 times. So when you're constantly under pressure, you're not going to be able to deliver very good throws. So that's kind of what happened around the NFL. And tonight's game, you got the Steelers and the Browns, which I've gone back and forth with this game pick. I don't know who to take. This has been a tough pick. It's been a really, really tough pick. It's not even the fact, this is one of these weird games where it doesn't mean a whole lot. It's like the Browns with with an outside chance. Steelers with an outside chance. Both teams, even if they win, need a whole lot to happen next week in order to make the playoffs. But in terms of tonight's game, there's definitely a feeling around the Steelers that this is Big Ben's final game at Heinz Field. So that crowd's going to be rocking. They're coming off of an embarrassing performance against the Chiefs in which they got blown out. I mean, let alone, it was in all fairness, it was an Arrowhead against one of the better teams in football, and the Steelers are just not there. They just don't have it anymore, and Big Ben at this point is slowing them down. At this point, Big Ben is slowing down the Steelers, and he needs to go. There's no other way to put it. He needs to retire. They need to move on. And if he doesn't retire, you need to move on from Big Ben because he's slowing this Steelers team down. And I truly believe that this is going to be it for him. He said it in his, practice press conference a couple days ago that he said that all signs are pointing towards this being his final game at, Heinz Field, and then ultimately next week being his final game, in a Steeler uniform because they'll be on the road. So I just look at this, they'll be on the road against the Ravens next week. I just look at it this way, right? It was a great run for Big Ben and the Steelers. It's almost like this has got to be, like, tonight's got to be their Super Bowl. Like, this has got to be it, like Big Ben, like Drew Brees last year walking off the field at, the New Orleans Superdome. He was, he walked off the field a loser. Now, obviously, a great career, but he lost to Brady, and ultimately the lasting impression was the loss to Brady in the playoffs. So for Big Ben, the last image of him walking into the tunnel tonight, you got to hope if you're a Steelers fan is him being a victorious quarterback. And for the Browns, you come and you try to spoil that, right? Browns, Steelers hate each other. They've been rivals for a while. I truly believe this game is going to be the perfect definition of an AFC North football game, where it's going to be a lot of tough, gritty football. It's going to be a lot of, runs and a lot of just battle in the trenches. It's really going to come down to who can run the ball the most, who can control the possession the most, who limits the turnovers too. Because the Steelers, Browns, both teams this season turn the ball over a ton. We've seen Big Ben make terrible interceptions. You saw Baker Mayfield last week throw 4 picks, including the game-losing interception against Green Bay at Lambeau, in which they had a very realistic shot at winning, even with Mayfield throwing the 4 interceptions. Just imagine if he didn't throw the 4 interceptions, they probably could have very easily won that game, and you talk about their season completely shifts. So the numbers going into this game are the Browns are on the road. They're 7-8. Steelers are 7-1. The Steelers come into this game. I think a lot of it has to do with coming off of a loss. They're going to be fired up. Big Ben's, I'm just going to say it's his final game at Heinz Field. Not what if. It's going to be his final game. So Steelers 3-point favorites. The over-under is set right now at 43.5, which is pretty low. Anytime it's low 40s, high 30s, it's going to be one of those games. That game comes on tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Final Monday Night Football game of the season. Next week, the season will close out Sunday Night Football with, like I mentioned earlier, the Chargers and the Raiders battling it out for the final wildcard spot in the AFC. What people think around the NFL, 79% of people think the Steelers will win this one. So only 21% of fans think the Browns will win. And I'm going to join those 21% of fans. I do think the Browns win tonight. And I'll tell you why. I get it. You know me. I tend to pick sometimes off of what happens the week before. And I understand, where, I originally picked the Steelers, and I switched to the Browns, and I kind of switched back to the Steelers. I've kind of been in the middle. This has been a pick that I've been really looking over the past couple days. My Sunday picks I didn't think were too hard to make. This pick was really difficult to make. And the reason it is because the Steelers are coming off of a really bad loss, and you know how I feel about that. You look at a lot of times teams come off of bad losses. That next week, they come out firing on all cylinders. They're pumped up. They're fired up. They're angry with how the game, ended the week before. And then you look at, the Browns, on the other hand, and they're also coming off another bad loss. Mayfield throwing 4 interceptions, leaving, walking off a Lambeau Field with bad taste in the mouth. As a team, they're frustrated because it was a missed pass interference penalty. Should have been a pass interference. Browns should have got an automatic first down, and they should have moved on with it, and they would have set up an opportunity to get the game-winning kick and beat a very good Packers team on the road at Lambeau Field, which is one of the hardest venues to play in all of sports. So that obviously happened on Christmas Day. So both teams coming off of really tough losses. And both teams need a win in order to keep their slim hopes alive. Like I said, I think it's going to be a tough, physical AFC North matchup. I get it, the crowd's going to be wild. It could be one of these games for Big Ben where he comes out and plays great and looks like vintage Big Ben. But ultimately, I just think the Browns are the more talented football team. I think, if Mayfield can limit the turnovers and get the ball in his playmakers' hands, Big Ben's done, right? Big Ben's done. He's not the same player he once was. We saw it last week. We continue to see it week in and week out. He seems to be getting worse. And ultimately, Nick Chubb, if they can really get just run the ball with Chubb, run, and win the game in trenches, I think the Browns will win. So I think it's a very low-scoring game. I think the Browns win 21-17. I don't think it's anything like 28-24 or 31-28. It's going to be a classic AFC North, tough physical game. I could see the Browns scoring late. I could also see it being like a 21-10 game, and then maybe the Steelers scoring a late touchdown to make it interesting. But ultimately, however they get there, I think the Browns win 21-17, and I'll take the under on the over-under 43.5. And the Browns win. Give me the Browns +3. Browns win, and I'll join the 21% of NFL fans that think the Browns win this game. So that will be my final game pick of the week. like I said earlier, I went 12-3 this week on my picks. So the only picks I got wrong were the Cardinals Cowboys game, the Chiefs Bengals game, and trying to figure out the other game I messed up on. Colts Raiders. I predicted the Colts, the Raiders one. So I got the Raiders Colts game wrong, Cardinals Cowboys game wrong, and the Bengals Chiefs game. But other than that, I got 12 picks correct. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm 162-92 this season overall on my game picks, and the best I've done this season was 12-4 on my picks. So I'm hoping to get into the teens this week. The best I've done, like I said, this season was 12 picks correct in a week. So this would be the first time I get 13 if I can get it tonight. Now, last season I got 13 a couple times. This season hasn't been as successful. So hoping to get 13 there and 162-92 on the season. Alrighty. So I'll get to the NBA and the NHL here, and then we'll get to fantasy football and wrap up the podcast. Tonight we got the Wizards Hornets. I'll give Wizards the win. 76ers Rockets. I think the 76ers will win. Jazz Pelicans. I'll give Jazz the win. Bulls Magic. I'll give Bulls the win. Bucks Pistons. Give Bucks the win. Mavericks Nuggets. Give Mavericks the win. Hawks Trailblazers. Give Hawks the win. Warriors Heat. Give Warriors the win. And Clippers Timberwolves. I'll give Clippers the win. And as for the NHL, only one game on tonight due to the postponements with the Canada games. The Rangers Oilers play tonight. Let's see here. Alrighty, so I don't believe. Yeah, so tonight, so Rangers tonight against the Oilers. I just want to make sure that game wasn't postponed. So Rangers tonight against the Oilers. Rangers come into this game 21-8-4. Oilers come into this game 18-12-2. Today, 7 p.m. Eastern. Over-under is set at 6.5. I'll give the Rangers a win, coming off a big win. By the way, forgot to give you it. Nets, Grizzlies tonight. Nets come into this game 23-11. Grizzlies come into this game 23-14. Nets are 7-point underdogs. The over-under is 228.5. This game goes on tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBA TV. You can also find it on Yes Network. 86% of people think the Nets will win this game. And for the Rangers, 64% of people think the Oilers will win. So I think the Rangers and Nets win tonight. Nets got to get back on track. 2 bad losses, especially against the Clippers. I mean, that loss, you can't make it. That's inexcusable. 13-point lead with 5 minutes to go. You cannot blow a game like that. And the Nets did just that. So they need to be way better with that. All right, so let's get to fantasy here, and then we'll wrap it up. As for fantasy basketball, I improved to 10-1 last week. So I am now 10-1 on the season. And today I've got going John Morant, Tyrese Maxey, Miles Bridges, Brandon Ingram, Nikola Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, Kelly Oubre, John Collins, and Desmond Bane. And Brandon Ingram is set at day-to-day. Ingram Achilles is tending toward being a game-time decision for Monday's contest against the Jazz. Andrew Lopez of ESPN reports. As for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander cleared the league's health and safety protocols Monday. Ryan Stiles of BricktownBuckets.com reports. Some other updates. Rashawn Holmes entered health and safety protocols Saturday. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reports, so lose him. And Darius Garland, Coach J.B. Bickerstaff said Garland cleared the NBA's COVID-19 protocols in practice Monday. Evan Dermero of WKYC3 News reports. John Collins is also out. No update on him. So it kind of stinks because you got all these, it's good to get some of the guys healthier. Definitely a big matchup coming up in fantasy. As for fantasy football, my non-PPR league, I'm currently losing 69-62. Today I've got Nick Chubb. My opponent's got Najee Harris. So it's possible, definitely possible, but we'll see how everything goes. Need Nick Chubb to get a big performance. And as for my other league, my PPR league, I'm losing 147-98. And my opponent's got Pittsburgh defense, so he can only possibly get more points. Got blown out. I got nobody going tonight, so no crazy outside chance. And yeah, so looking, one league I'm projected to lose 83-75. So that's my non-PPR league. Hoping that Chubb can have a big day and Najee Harris, they limit Najee Harris, on the ground. So we'll see how everything goes. But yep, that will do it for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Another podcast in the books. That's what I got for fantasy. Nothing too crazy. This has been a tough fantasy football season for me in terms of a personal level. I was really hoping to have a good year. I was confident about my one. I liked my one team. I felt really good about my other team. So it was like kind of 50-50. And neither team did well. So it wasn't a great year for fantasy, but hoping that next year's better. But fantasy basketball's been doing great. So that's good. But either way, that'll do it for the podcast here today. Another good podcast in the books. Tonight wraps up a crazy and very good Week 17. What will we see tonight? What will we see tonight? Let me think. Will we see a coach quit tonight? Or does Ben Roethlisberger maybe at halftime throw off his pads and run off the field and throw the peace sign to Steelers fans and retire? What will we see tonight? Leave a comment down below with all the craziness going on. Will we see a fan fly out of the stadium? Will we see fans fall out of the stands like we did at Washington? What will we see tonight? That's the question. Ultimately, will we see Big Ben leave on a win, a loss, or do they get another tie? We'll see. That will do it for the podcast here today. Tomorrow, another big podcast coming up. I was thinking about talking more about AB tomorrow in depth. Just about what it means for the Bucs and ultimately his career. I know I talked a little about it today, but tomorrow a little bit more in depth. Was thinking about it. Like I said, always sports sometimes is a little tough to always say what you're exactly going to talk about because so much could happen, so much could go on in sports world. So we'll see how everything goes. But as always, hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.